Hi class, Mrs. Calvi here. I want to do a quick review on graphing on a number line. So here I have an integer, which is 3, and if my directions were to graph that on a number line, all I would do is plot a point at +3 on my number line. If they asked me to graph -4, I would go to -4, negatives are on the left side of 0 on my number line, and plot a point. Okay, that's all there is to graphing on a number line. Now these were easy because they were whole numbers, and it just so happens my number line went by ones. Remember I explained that your number line may not go by ones. Sometimes it goes by 2s or 5s or 10s. All right, so let's practice if my number line was not going by ones. Okay, so if you notice here my number line, it's not going by ones, it's actually going by 2s. And I want to graph +5. Well, I don't have a tick mark. Remember, these are called tick marks. I don't have a tick mark labeled with 5 because these are going by 2s. They're going in increments of 2s. But where would +5 land? Well, first of all, it's going to be to the right of 0. And it's going to land right in the middle of +4 and +6. So I would plot a point right in the middle, and I would label that as +5. Now, if they wanted me to, let's say, graph -7, well, negatives are to the left of 0, so I'm going to be on this side, right? And I don't have a tick mark that is labeled as -7, but I know that -7 comes in between -6 and -8. So I would just plot a point right in the middle because it comes right halfway between -6 and -8, okay? So we've also talked about graphing rational numbers such as decimals. So let's practice that. Okay, so here I have a number line and my tick marks are going by tenths. So to the right of 0, I have 1/10, 2/10, 3/10. Now this would go all the way up to 9/10 before I get to 1 whole, until I get to the number 1. Now to the left, I have -1/10, -2/10, -3/10. Again, this would continue going left until we get to -9/10, and then we would get to the number -1. Okay, so I want to graph -2/10, so I would just go to 2/10. It just so happens I have a tick mark at -2/10, and I would plot a point, and I would be done. Okay, so now sometimes we do have number lines that are going by different intervals, and you kind of have to figure out what the tick marks in between the numbers are. So let's practice that. Okay, so here I have a number line. I have 0 in the middle. I have +1, +2, -1, and -2. But I don't have my other tick marks labeled. Well, this tick mark comes right in the middle of 0 and 1. So technically, what comes right in the middle of 0 and 1? Well, that would be 1/2, right? So if we're talking fractions, you could put 1/2, or the equivalent, the decimal equivalent of 1/2 could be 0.5, so either decimals or fractions, all right? So now I don't have this tick mark labeled either. It's right in the middle of +1 and +2. Well, right in the middle of that would become 1 and 1/2, or 1.5 if we're talking a decimal. So we're going to do the same thing on the left side of my 0, but those are going to be negatives. So this one is going to be -1/2, or -0.5 if we're talking decimals. Right in the middle of -1 and -2, that would be -1 and 1/2, or -1.5 if we're talking decimals. Okay, now let's say they wanted me to graph 1 3/4. Well, first of all, it's positive, so I know I'm looking on the right side of my number line. But if you notice, I don't have a 1 3/4. So here, when we are talking whole numbers and then halves in the middle, we can go and add 2 more tick marks and think of money, think of quarters, okay? So this first tick mark would be 1, hold on one sec. This first one, after the 1 but before the 1 1/2, this would be 1 1/4. this would be, hold on. Okay, this other tick mark would be 1 3/4. So 1/4, a half, right? So 1 1/4, 1 1/2, 1 3/4. If we were to have added these tick marks, this would be 1/4 and this would be 3/4. So 1 3/4 would get graphed. Positive 1 3/4 would be this tick mark here. So sometimes, a lot of times you'll see a number line. If I have between 0 and 1 and I only have a couple of tick marks, typically they're going by quarters, okay? So 1/4, 1/2, 3/4, okay? So you can always kind of think of like money, thinking of quarters. So getting to one whole is like $1. A quarter, 1/2, which would mean 50 cents. So half of $1 is 50 cents. 3/4 or 3/4, that would be 75 cents, right? So 25 cents, 50 cents, 75 cents, $1. All right. So if I wanted to graph, let's say negative 1/4. Well, negative 1/4, first of all, is going to be on the left side, and it would come before a negative 1/2. So that would end up being the tick mark right here. So this would end up being negative 1/4, and I would plot a point there. Okay, I hope this was a helpful review, and I will talk to you soon.